Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Leadnap Gaming. Today we're taking an early look at the all-new MISC Expanse. Today's video is an early buying guide for the new refinery ship from MISC, the Expanse. A reminder though that if you want to snap up a different MISC ship with refinery, the Odyssey, make sure to subscribe and comment below for a chance to win. At time of writing, the Expanse is only offered to concierge backers for 135 war bond and 150 stock. The ship is not straight to flyable. From CIG's materials, we know that the Expanse is a single-crew refinery vessel intended to work in tandem with the single-seat Prospector mining ship. It has 6 refinery units on board, which will allow players to either run 6 different refinery methods or maximize output and utilize all 6 on the same process. The system uses the same bag system the Prospector and Mole use for drops, but we have no data yet on if and how it will pick up those bags. As for looks, keeping in mind beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I actually really like it. We can see the mega influence of the whole series pieces that are giving MISC ships a more refined and modern look, while still keeping the traditional design elements. The ship has the sort of heft one would expect to see, and CIG has really done themselves favors in the design by limiting just how much ship has to be modeled out to actually be put in the game. Much of the ship appears to be machinery, as it should. There are, however, some questionable choices here. I have a large problem with the front ramp cargo bay under the bridge decision. This seems very rule of cool and not practical at all, especially because the other MISC ships of this size and scope feature simple ingress and compartment arrangement. In theory, a cargo deck would be critical on a refinery ship since you need to store the refined goods, but the bay shown is really small, and there doesn't seem to be a solid logic on how you would, as a crew of 1, package the refined goods and store them in the cargo bay. Importantly, the Expanse is the first ship that will be able to refine player-mined materials, and that's a very big deal. The Expanse is then an instant requirement for any mining org or outfit, allowing groups of players to prospect, mine, and refine without using NPCs or stations. While this runs against the grain of previous Star Citizen concepts of multi-crew, I actually think this approach is one of CIG's best ideas yet. It supports players working together, but in a fashion that makes more sense realistically and logistically. By having a single-seat refinery, small mining outfits benefit from being able to include refining because the labor need is low, which equates to low cost. It also means that mining teams can be mobile. Best of all, it means that players don't have to perfectly sync their playing time to work together. The prospectors don't have to be online the entire time the Expanse is, and vice versa. The Expanse does, however, shatter a lot of the refinery loop and expose glaring issues for existing game elements. Already, massive station refineries take hours to days to process prospector-sized loads, begging the question what a tiny little refinery will be capable of outputting. On paper, it sounds great to have 2 to 3 prospectors dropping stuff off at a single Expanse to process. But the reality may be that the Expanse can't process a single prospector in the time it would take the prospectors to fly back to the station and deposit. Certainly true today in the singular Stanton system, but even likely to be true with dozens of systems that don't even have stations in the future. There also seem to be major issues when it comes to the Mole, with what has been suggested as a refinery space between the cockpit and life support area, which, even if CIG says we never intended one, doesn't then change the fact that the massive Mole has all this excess machinery when the Prospector doesn't. And for what? We also don't know if the Expanse is capable of refining Quantanium, which, if we're honest, would be the most important reason to bring one along. On paper, the Expanse is a solid buy, and my mouse keeps hovering over the Add to Cart button. I love how she looks. It fits such a demanded purpose. I still don't click it. Immediately because it isn't flyable yet, which I dock points twice for. The first reason I dock them is that there's really no reason that this isn't flyable immediately. We need this ship today, not for potential stand-in content to come. It's a single seat and built from the MISC components that already exist for the hulls and other projects. In 2022, CIG shouldn't release a single seat ship as a concept. Massive ships with high development hour needs are understandable, but aside from refinery UI, there should be no animations, no new components, nothing that isn't already in the game. If CIG can't put a ship together from their modular parts bin, their entire plan for the game's development is shattered. The refinery system is also a major concern, because again, we have nothing like it. Asking players to spend money on a ship that does something we can't try first has become a sin. How will the refinery minigame work with logging out? Some of the functions at station refineries take days. Do I have to play the minigame on the UI the entire time? How does logging out work? Will that stop the job? With ship-to-ship refueling, we see flow considerations artificially introduced to require the boom operator to have a minigame. What sort of asinine, unrealistic considerations will refinery play require? If the Expanse is more efficient refining than a station refinery deck with hundreds of NPCs and equipment the size of the Expanse, why would I ever bother using station refineries anyhow? When that spectrum thread explodes, will CIG nerf the Expanse? What about storage output? We know how the bags are dropped by the Prospector and picked up by the Expanse. Okay, actually, we don't know that, but it's not hard to imagine. But post-refinery, what does that process look like? Do we buy and carry empty SCU containers for the various types of materials we plan to refine? Different metals have different SCU containers after all, and those don't just appear out of nowhere. What if I have the wrong ones? Can I only refine to the SCU capacity of the onboard cargo bay? If so, why have 6 refinery units? CIG hasn't done the due diligence here. The price is right. What the ship does is highly demanded. It looks amazing. Players, however, have no reason to buy a concept ship that does a concept game loop, even if the loop is in high demand. Especially if there was no reason not to introduce that loop right away. Releasing a refinery ship when you have back-end refining in game, but not actually allowing players to do it yet, is laziness. That's compounded by telling us about it in a video weeks ago, and then putting it in the store with no supporting sales data. Gib money. So there you have it, folks. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to buy the Expanse, now or in the future for that matter. When CIG updates the information on the ship, or more importantly, releases it, I'll update this guide, but for now, I'm a solid pass on the Expanse. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't, share this video with your fellow mining friends, and I will catch you all next time.